longer than I thought it would. And I mailed out, I think 45 envelopes, handwritten envelopes, by going to the property tax website, finding out who to mail them to. I didn't get a response for a while. I was frustrated because it cost me hours of my time, but I ended up getting an off-market deal. Well, a deal where someone was going to sell the home, which is what I was asking if they were interested in selling. And she offered to sell it for about 10 to 15 grand less than what it was worth, because no realtor. COVID hit, so we're still talking. She hasn't moved because the job she was going to take fell through. But I did pick up another one that I called it was for rent. So I called the property managers, probably 10 of them, asked them if these people would be interested in selling. And one of them, of the 10, got back to me. I ended up buying and remodeling it back in March. So
nice.
It's been a great ad. So that's my win for the year. Maybe my only marketing win. I don't know.
That's sweet.
But it's frustrating at first because I didn't hear back. And it's just, you've got to put the time and the effort. And, a lot of people are going to say no before somebody says yes. So it worked out.
Exactly. Well, thanks, Travis. I appreciate
thank you.
So I missed it. Travis, were you direct mailing, doing phone calls, or what to get to those?
So I did it the old school manual way where I typed up a letter, but I hand wrote all the envelopes by going to the property tax website, finding the addresses for the one that I bought, and the one that I'm hoping to pick up. She's going to sell, or I'm sorry, the one that I didn't buy. That's how I got in touch with her. The one that I bought, I called the property management company that had it for rent, and the tenant ended up, they had it for rent. I said, would you be interested in selling? Because anybody that puts their house up for rent, at least in my situation, selling comes across my mind every time. Should I sell it or should I rent it? So I called the property manager of one down there and said, would your client be interested in selling? And he ended up selling it to me. So worked out.
Patched you through, huh?
Yeah, I didn't have to, the negotiation can be tough up here in a hot market. So if you pick it up off market, I think it's a little bit easier.
Now you're in Oregon and the property's in Texas?
Yeah, I have a property here that I rent out, and then I have a property in Texas that I rent out.
Okay.
But the one I just picked up this year is in Texas.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Great work. And then Grace?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I don't have any direct mail marketing wins right now. And I'm just ramping up a CRM, trying to figure that out, developing CRM and putting my stuff into it. And we'll be loading in emails, templates and letter templates, but that's this week's project. But yeah. And the only win I have is from it's actually from 2019, but I sold it in January, which was through my website, which was SEO marketing,
Yep. That's huge.
Yeah, so I'm going to be working on that. I'm looking at also changing my provider away from OnCarrot Investor.
We are too. That's so funny.
Maybe we're looking at the same peeps. I don't know.
Yep. Well, thanks for sharing that with everybody. I'll get down to some of the brass tacks of all this.
Go ahead and go to Avis and Jeremy and see if they'll.
Oh yeah. Avis or Jeremy, can you hear us? If you can, and you had any marketing wins.
Hello. Hi, Avis is here.
Great.
And she's actually still in a car driving. So I'm just kind of incognito right now.
No worries.
Once again, for marketing, I'm just getting back into it. I don't know what I want to do. I've been through fortune builders, questioning artificial intelligence and doing their software module. And I just don't know if I want to jump in that far or just do it more manually and low key. So I'm kind of all ears.
Cool. Awesome. And then what about you, Jeremy?
Yeah. Hey, so I don't know if I have any marketing wins. I'm new to this, obviously, or at least new to your guys' forum here.
Yeah.
apologize. I got smacked in the face a couple days ago. I have a nice, but my wife and I started our real estate flipping business about 2013, and it's been going pretty good. We're doing about 10 a year, and this year obviously was it's been challenging, but we're getting ready by mid-November to list our fourth one. We've sold the other three already, so we're not going to do as many properties this year. But
Are you
I'm sorry?
flipping? Are you flipping?
I am flipping. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And we started taking on some client remodels. That's sort of something we had to sort of pivot a little bit when the market sort of dried up, or at least, we're in Portland, and we're just kind of struggling to find properties right now. And that's why we're looking to, meet some other people and see what other people are doing, and just network ourselves, and hopefully have some other deals come across our desk.
Nice. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Appreciate that. So yeah, the overall goal of tonight's subject is to talk about direct mail. I know direct mail is not the sexiest of marketing strategies. We all wish you could turn a phone on or and just inbound and get referrals and things would just come to us. But I think having a sound strategy for direct mail is not only key in any type of real estate, doesn't matter if it's project or property management, construction, it could be, past client database with a real estate agent, or just overall cold prospecting through direct mail to specific data sets. So I really wanted to start by talking about what I've seen as effective as possible, and really kind of break it down and what I think is a waste of your money or a waste of your time. And it's not to say that this is like the golden rule or the golden rule of all direct mail, but I'll just break it down kind of piece by piece. So in my old business, we were a real estate development company, construction, new build, ground up, design build, work with architects and engineers, as well as landscape contractor, landscape architecture firm. So multiple divisions, multiple irons in the fire, and finding properties in every one of those types of different businesses is not easy, but highly effective to automate. So I want to kind of share how direct mail kind of works in with that. So, and I'll share some of the things that me and Ed are doing. But let's start with just real estate investing as the market of which direct mail can be utilized. Right now, everyone's heard of driving for dollars. We all do it ourselves or keep our eyes peeled as we drive around town or we're running errands. And you're always looking for that needle in the haystack type of mentality. But really what I'm going with this is, and a couple of people have brought this up, is really developing a strategy for your bird dogs or anybody you're going to employ to really look for properties and capture those addresses. So this is not purchasing lists. This is not looking at any type of other data set other than manually going out and physically looking for the lucky property in a specific area. So I've employed, I have 3 high school kids who drive all around Lane County, and they continually dump properties that they think they've been trained into a Google spreadsheet that is on a specific app that I'm using. And we were using Deal Machine. If you guys want to write that down, we were using that website or that app for a long time, but we've switched gears, and I don't have the app in front of me right now, but we've dabbled with using that as a data collection aspect. They can pretty much find out who owns that property and dump it into a spreadsheet. But myself, Ed, business partner, have essentially mapped out the entire Eugene and Springfield area and where the high probability pockets are for rehab properties. And we've specifically driven ourselves and database nearly probably close to 600 properties now. Some multifamily, some duplexes, some single family, some light commercial. But all of those different data sets and all those different types of properties are given a specific type of direct mail campaign. And so in all of this, what I'm trying to say is this: don't send the garbage that everyone else is sending, which is the 3x5 postcard that says "We buy houses." They're usually yellow or orange. They're completely garbage. You may close 1 or 2 flips off of it a year if you send out, 10,000 of them. But at the end of the day, they're not effective. They don't create consistent results. And when I say consistent results, like between 3 and 4 properties a quarter. What you need to do is look at those data sets and look at those specific properties. So what I mean by that is this: if I'm looking at a 4 to 10 unit property and I know it's multifamily, I'm going to look at that address and I'm going to actually physically take the time to run the title report or run any type of due diligence investigation work to figure out who owns that property, and then what direct mail message am I going to lead with. And that direct mail message is typically, just as Travis said, is a letter in an envelope with handwritten address and return address. It looks as real as possible, just the letter is not handwritten. And inside that letter or messaging, say, for example, multifamily, is going to lay out a very specific action plan of why I'm reaching out to you, why I want to buy your property, and what problems am I going to solve, and what money or cash am I going to net you more than you currently keeping your property or allowing it to decay as a depreciating asset. And I think we're familiar with Gabriel Hamel in town or other people who've done a lot of owner financing, but the golden nugget of what I'm trying to pull out of this conversation, and specifically what those letters talk about, is I'm targeting your property because X, Y, and Z. I've done the research, I've driven by it, I've taken pictures. It matches into something that I'm looking to eventually get. But I want to solve some problems. You have deferred maintenance. You have tenants that are essentially trashy and there's garbage everywhere. Whatever it is, right? The more you can talk specifically about that property and do the research up front, what I'm trying to get at is that your effectiveness is as good as the amount of work or sweat equity you put into it. So if somebody sent me a letter and says, I want to buy your house, and it looked like it came out of a printing machine in Detroit, Michigan, I'm not going to call them back. But if somebody sends me a letter and says, hey, Dan, I love your little white house on the corner. It could be transferred or developed into a duplex. I'm a duplex builder or an investor here. I was wondering if you'd ever sell that house so I could basically level it and build a duplex. Maybe I'd start to listen if that price was right. So what I'm trying to get at is that the actual aspect of finding the property and doing the homework to figure out who owns it and what problems you're going to solve or what story you're going to build is primarily the most effective way to not waste your time writing 1,000 pieces of direct mail, but writing 10 really good direct mail. And so in lieu of that, the data and where you find these data can either be purchased or it can be either purchased. So if you're bird dogging it or you're driving around, it costs gas, time, money, effort. If you're paying somebody else to do it, it costs gas, time, effort, labor, whatever it is, insurance. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get at is this. You can either buy that data and spray and pray, what I call, or you can buy that data and find some hot target properties and do some more research to make that messaging more effective. But at the end of the day, when somebody opens up that letter, it needs to be really, really good. And we learned that strategy from, well, I learned that way long time ago from other different things we were doing in landscape and construction. But point I'm getting at is this. If you're looking at any type of data set, if it be probate, notices of default, if it be just a distressed property, physically distressed, tax liens, if it's a property that looks like it has tons of deferred maintenance, whatever type of research that you can do into that data set and you can effectively connect with those people. What I'm trying to get at is that the copywriting is the most important aspect. Why I say the copywriting is the most important aspect is sometimes when you pull those lists, those letters go to the wrong people. But if you have really good copywriting, you'd be amazed how many people will connect the dots or call you back. And that's happened numerous times. We've actually had people say, hey, I'm not John Smith. You keep sending me letters, but I wanted to let you know I have a property. So where I'm going with this conversation is that do your homework, do the investigation work, and make sure that the copywriting of your initial letter is echoed in your sequence of letters. Now I want to talk about frequency. The average salesperson has to touch somebody between 7 and like 13 times, depending on what product you're selling, in order to even get the time of day or get a demo or a meeting set or appointment. And sometimes to even convert that post demo or strategy call or estimate could be 15 or 20 touches, right? Following up, answering questions, going back and forth, negotiating. So you got to look at direct mail as a component that lightens, is the warming aspect of your campaign. It's much easier to skip trace somebody and call them and say, hey, I sent you 3 letters from West Coast Property Group. Do you remember getting those? And then the first question, they're like, yeah, I got them. I keep getting them. It allows you to enter the conversation with something that you've already primed. And inside of that aspect of what I'm trying to get at is that frequency is the most important aspect. I'm going to throw Brad Anderson into the fire right now and say that we had a great conversation a week ago. Principal broker, sends out just listed, just sold postcards time to time, has mailed duplexes like 1 or 2 times. And then he shows me this, like, here's all the money I spent on direct mail. And I said, awesome. And I was like, how effective was it for you? And he said, I didn't get a single deal. And I was like, wow, you took $3,000, put it in a briefcase and caught it on fire. And where I was going with this is I said, Brad, the problem is that you could have not mailed the other 7 data sets. And if you wanted to do out-of-state owners of duplexes, you should have mailed them like 8 times. And it can't just be a postcard that your lady down in downtown Springfield whips up for $20. It's got to be a letter that presents a solution to any type of aspect of their problem. And so let's talk about that problem solution copy. The problem solution copy for somebody that's out of state that has a duplex, for example, is going to be this. Hi, saw you own 123 Main Street. It's a beautiful duplex. I've been driving by it multiple times in the past couple of weeks or months or year. And I wanted to let you know that duplex prices are at the tip of the mountain right now. We're at the highest point that prices have ever been in Eugene, Oregon for a duplex. Gross rent multipliers are like 17 to 25. Cap rates are like floating between 5 and 6%. And you've owned this duplex for over 20 years. We're about 2 weeks from an election, and we don't know what's going to go on with the economy. But what I do know is that if we do go into another market cycle, it's going to be another 8 to 12 years before you recuperate 33% loss of your equity. So would you be interested in selling your duplex now at top market value, cashing out, reducing your liability, reducing your property management headaches, and having a conversation about unloading that, taking that equity back, and reinvesting in some other asset, or doing a 1031 exchange?
Yes, you got me. Yes, I want the deal.
Well,
That was good.
thank you, Mike. But where I'm going with this is that you didn't just email and say, hey, I want to buy your duplex. Call me. I have cash. I can close in 10 days. It doesn't work. You have to paint the picture of where is the current market situation? What problems are you going to solve for them? And what are they going to do with that money when they do get that money? And so one aspect of this, and I think me and Ed had a pretty deep conversation with Mike here, is that owner financing and the power of the promissory note and injecting that into your direct mail is huge. If somebody sells you their $400,000 duplex and they use me as a real estate agent, after closing costs, they're probably going to get about $358,000 to $365,000 net. If they turn around and they already own that duplex free and clear, and they took it and sold it to me for $400,000, and they owner financed it for another 30 years, plopped it into a trust like Mike's, and then said, hey kids, just so you know, I sold my duplex on a promissory note, owner financing at 4% for 30 years, amortized. And just so you know, I just took that $400,000 duplex and I made it $635,000. And they're going to say, wow, that's $235,000 more. How'd you do that, Dad? Well, I just played bank. Grace, you're muted. Are you muted?
You just went into a whole nother level of discussion, promissory note, 4%, changing that value to 600,000 or whatever you said. Yeah, that's like a whole nother level right there.
Yep.
Like we're talking, we're not in marketing 100, we're in marketing 300 now. So
yeah. What I'm getting at is that the direct mail copy of what you have to say has to be highly effective.
Yeah.
And all of this is Google searchable. Like you can find out how to write good direct mail copy, but
there's a lot of bad out there too.
True.
More bad than good. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm curious because you said in your letter you were including a promissory note. I can't imagine that.
I'm not including it in my letter. I'm including it. I'm talking about what solutions I'm offering.
It's a conversation.
He's painting a real beautiful picture, and he's actually making it real to that person. Here is where we're at. Can you see that top of market, this, and can you see this result? I mean, man, that's 30 years of sales, and my hat's off to you.
And I think you're talking about having the seller finance it to you.
Yep, that's just one option.
That's
right?
a Gabriel thing. Okay, yeah.
Yep. So not to confuse everybody here, but what I'm really getting at and outlining this is that email, that messaging sequence, that direct mail sequence, one letter might be talking about owner financing. One letter might be talking about a liquid cash purchase within some certain time frame. Another letter might be talking about how I'm going to effectively move you out of your distressed house, pay for your deposit and your first month's rent, pay for U-Haul, and move your ass to the new spot and I'm going to essentially hire an estate person to clean out your whole entire estate and solve your problems. Because the number one reason people don't move from their house or their real estate is that it's headaches, stress, I don't know what I'm going to do, confusion. It's called FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the marketing equation that everyone should know here, if there was one thing that you got from this whole entire conversation, is that your direct mail has to interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. Those four things. If it doesn't interrupt them, it doesn't engage with them, it doesn't educate them on something that you can offer, and it doesn't give them some sort of call to action, that's what's wrong with 99.9% of direct mail.
Say it again. Interrupt, engage.
Interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. That is the marketing equation. That's been out since like 1950.
Bringing back memories from college.
Yes. So when I try to tell people that we've talked about the data, right? We've talked about doing some homework, but when you're sending a sequence of letters, every letter has to be building off the other. So I'm going to share some information that Ed would probably kill me if I shared, but I'm going to share it anyway. When I send, I'll give you a distressed property letter sequence. My roofer is a bird dog for me. He goes to estimates all the time. He's at houses all the time. People are talking about why they need to sell or why they're getting a roof. He slangs me their address back. I start sending them direct mail. They don't know he knows me. I don't know that he knows me. It's a great relationship. I send a letter to a lady who's like getting a new roof, gonna sell her house. She's a pack rat, lived in the house for 30 years, but she was basically like on her way out. So I've already sent her 4 letters of 8. And the first letter was like, hey, I'm looking to buy a house in your area. I own rental properties. And the reason I'm looking at your house is you've owned it for a long time. You have equity. I wanted to just dialogue about how we could create some sort of plan for me to eventually purchase your property. If it not now, maybe in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road. But would you be open to having a conversation? And I wanted to kind of discuss what a real estate option was. And I led with a real estate option. That was the first letter. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with a real estate option, it allows me to basically tie up that property for a certain amount of time to a negotiated purchase price and terms by giving them consideration money that is non-refundable. I actually have 2 properties in real estate options right now. So effectively what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to buy myself inventory by spending little pieces of money. And that first message goes out. I want to talk about real estate options. There was some more information that was in that letter, but basically I want to talk about real estate options. The second letter I came to her, it was like, hey, I'm running 2 programs. I have a distressed property program and I have a downsizing program. And both of those programs include me helping you get out of your house. I cover moving costs if it's local. I pay for your first month's rent and your deposit. I basically negotiate a great purchase price so that we can effectively get you out of your house and moved on to the next portion of your life. So I've talked about a real estate option, I've talked about downsizing, and I've talked about distressed. I don't know which one of those she is. I just know that one of those options may be effective or attractive to her. Fourth letter comes. Hey, I've already dropped 3 different ideas. Are you hearing my message? Can you text me and give me some sort of indication that you've got these letters? I don't have your cell phone number, which is true. So I've been basically dropping these letters to the same house. Why? Because I know she needs to sell in the next 3 to 6 months. Because as a real estate agent, I have the ability to either list it, or I have the ability to buy it, or owner finance it, or all these different options above. So what I'm trying to prove here is that took me about an hour. And most people would argue that's not scalable. How can you effectively run a real estate investment business? Why? Is because that 1 hour to 2 hours could make me $100,000. That's how I look at it. I don't look at things like these take me 2 or 3 hours to roll out. I look at every data set and I say, where are we in our flight? Have we hit 6 to 7 to 8 touches? And in there's other things that are going to be compiled with direct mail. If it be a call or 2 calls, if it be a door hanger or door note, but there's other things that are in that marketing plan that we won't go into. But what I want to tell you that is that I effectively have mailed probably close to 1,000 letters and received approximately probably 100 leads. That's about a 10% conversion rate. Now, of those 10% leads doesn't mean that I closed all 100. It just means that I effectively got people to talk to me. And that cost per lead is what I wanted to talk about next, because you can pay $800 to $1,500 to $3,000 a month on Google PPC, CRMs, websites, whatever it is. You can pay a VA $1,500 a month or $500 a month, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, that direct mail costs me about 50 cents in stamps, actually about 41 cents. I buy them on bulk on eBay. 50 cents in stamps, like a 50-cent letter, a piece of paper, or a letter piece of paper, and some ink costs. So each one of those letters is like $2. I've never sent a postcard ever. I've stopped Ed sending his postcard program. He doesn't send postcards anymore at all. And we went out and bought sequences of different letters and tweaked them. So I went out and we spent $3,000 on somebody's direct mail program. And then we turned around and started changing all the copy to be customized to our market. So some of this direct mail campaigns are our stuff. Some of these direct mail campaigns are used by trusted investors in other markets. Point I'm trying to get at is that I will spend an hour out of my week, if I'm working 60 hours a week, to always be dropping direct mail. I never stop. That is because it's going to take one or two bigger deals to be able to land a huge deal. And the reason for that is that I have a 9-unit apartment complex now that was recorded as a real estate option from one letter that a business partner or joint venture partner sent out about a duplex. Wasn't even mailing the 9-unit, sent it to a duplex owner. Duplex owner was like, hey, I got your letter. Not interested in selling my duplex, but I am interested in selling my apartment complex. So what I'm trying to really show you is that one opportunity that went to the wrong person in the wrong property, or the right person but the wrong property, turned into about $250,000 in instant equity. And that is what the power of direct mail. Now, on a real estate agent side, I want to talk about this and kind of show you some comparisons. On a real estate agent side, most people send out just sold or just listed postcards. They usually send them out to the neighbors because they're trying to effectively draw some buzz in the neighborhood, get some people to come take a look. There is a high probability of people wanting their family or cousins or uncles or coworkers to come live by them. And it's great. I love it. I think it's a decent strategy, but executed very poorly. When it comes to residential real estate or investment real estate or commercial real estate, the best thing you could effectively do is pick a farm area that you're going to mail and not stop mailing that with high value content offers, great dialogue and copy, and consistently useful information that effectively draws the attention to you when the time is right to sell. I talk to probably close to like 2,000 to 3,000 real estate agents a year. And on my strategy questionnaire that I ask them pre-demo, I always ask them, how much money are you, first question, are you sending direct mail? Second question, how much money are you using on that specific seller farm or buyer farm, whatever it is? And what has been your return on investment for that lead source? I've literally got about 1,000 people that said, I don't do direct mail. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. I have about probably another 500 people that say, I do some direct mail, but I have no clue what my return on investment is. Every time you send out those letters, every time you buy new stamps, every time you buy another box of printing paper or you get ink, you need to literally write down what you paid so you can effectively judge over a year how much money you've put into direct mail. And every one of those data sets, so if you're going to mail a farm or you're going to mail distressed properties or duplexes, how much money have you spent on it so that when you do get a lead and you do close a deal, you can look at what your cash on cash return is versus how much money you put into that. If I said the number one problem outside of copywriting and frequency for direct mail, the number one problem is it's not tracking it. It's getting the lead 2 years later and not asking them like, where'd you find out about me? I got your letter. You sent it to me 2 years ago about how to sell my duplex. I wasn't interested then, but now I am. That tracking is super important because if you start to see similarities in the data sets of where these properties are starting to pop up, you're going to start to make better assumptions on how to pivot and spend more money or double down in those specific zip codes. So I say primarily you need to pick 1 or 2 areas where you're going to effectively farm for flips. You need to then look at how many houses you're going to look at and broad spread your messaging across everywhere. That could be done with a few different tools. That can be done with United States Postal Service EDDM, which allows you to basically select route codes and basically mail everybody that's in that specific route code to the number of addresses that are in that route code. Or using, there's another website called Terradel. I think that's what it's called. And I can share these in the chat. But effectively, if you're going to farm for investment properties and it's not bigger multifamily properties that are probably owned by a trust or an LLC that's going to be hard to track down and figure out who the registered agent is. If you're going to be farming homeowners, you need to pick 1 or 2 markets where you can actually farm an effective number of homes. And an effective number of homes is not 100 homes. An effective number of homes is between 1,000 to 2,500 at a minimum.
Per month, per farm, right?
At least per quarter.
Yeah.
Per
So,
farm.
so you talked about frequency, but you didn't say how frequent you sent the letters, like if it was once a month, once every 6 weeks, once a week or whatever.
Every data set is different.
Yeah.
So if I'm,
let's talk about that, but go ahead with that first.
Yeah, with the frequency, it's hard to say like, hey, everybody, you need to do an 8-on-8 frequency. An 8-on-8 is 8 touches over 8 weeks. That's what Gary Keller teaches. That's what a lot of the real estate coaches teach.
Yeah.
It's pounding them with direct mail for 8 weeks straight to get a result. The problem is that if it's a distressed property and notice a default, that works. That's great. But on the 8th week, like the judgment's already been made, it's getting transferred over to the bank and the problem is not going to be solved.
Yeah.
If the data set is, I want to buy this piece of crap apartment complex in South Eugene,
Way different
frequency
Mhm.
and way different messaging.
Way different
So-
people, just everything. Yeah.
the whole thing of where I think Grace had brought up something that's very good is that you need to understand who that target market is,
Yeah.
what their age is, and what motivates them to change what they're currently doing.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk frequency on finding distressed properties that are owned by people that are probably living paycheck to paycheck, and if something happened or they lost their job, they probably have to sell their house, is that you're probably going to have to hit that house at least 6 times a year. And you probably should continue doing it if that's on your target market list.
Okay.
If it's a property, say it's land, this is the best example. say it's a piece of land where you want to buy the piece of land and maybe subdivide it or do something with it, whatever it is. Usually land is a way slower purchasing and acquisition process. So that might take you 3 or 4 or 5 years of hitting them at least twice or 3 times or 4 times a year. So to organize all this, like you're probably asking yourself, like, where do I start? Like, how do I organize this and keep in how many touches I've done? Well, it's a Google spreadsheet. And the best way to put it in is you create specific tabs for each type of data target: distressed properties, notices of default, multifamily that I want to own, whatever it is, properties I want to list, farm area. And you can effectively grow your columns as flight 1, flight 2, flight 3, flight 4, flight 5, flight 5. And you can put in the check boxes that you can check when you've completed it. And you can put the address on the left-hand side. So you could just keep adding addresses to that data set. And as you send the flights, you mark them off. The good thing about that is that if you know how much money you spent on direct mail, you can look and say, okay, for multifamily mailers, I probably sent out 1,000 this year, and I've done 6 to 8 flights. I got zero return on investment. Maybe I should stop that, or maybe I should change my messaging. Well, the difference between good direct mail and bad direct mail is that good direct mail doesn't close the deal in the letter or in the postcard. Good direct mail gets them to go do something else. And so I'm going to share a secret here. I'll put a QR code or a short URL, and I'll say, go to this link, and I'll shoot a video specifically about their property if it's something I really want. And to educate you on that is, if you start at this very elementary level, say you're looking at 10 different properties that you would eventually like to flip. They're distressed, they're crappy, you see upsize, it's an up and coming area, it's a good zip code, maybe on the fringes. You're like, I could probably get these people to move if I paid them enough money to get out. If you shot a video using Loom or YouTube or whatever it is, and you put a specific URL on there and you sent them a letter and said, hey, I made a video about your property. I want to talk to you. Go to this, put this into your web browser, and let me talk to you. That video is specific to them. You're talking about that like, know, and trust factor. They're seeing your face. They're growing some sort of reputation or acknowledgement that you're a real estate investor and you're serious. And that specific type of messaging is, you're looking at like an hour in preparation. But you said you only wanted to reach out to these 10 properties. You really want to buy them. Wouldn't you try to do everything in your power to get the messaging across? Because if you go knock on their door and they've already watched a video, they may tell you to get lost. Or they might be like, are you the guy that sent me the video? Like, I thought that was clever. You want your direct mail to be clever enough for them to convert and actually have a conversation with you. The problem is that every time you go to your mailbox, you're bombarded with garbage that the corporations are using the billboard marketing approach. The more you see my brand, my logo, the more you're going to think about me when it is time to purchase or get tires or change your insurance agent. I'll be honest, none of that stuff works on me unless it's really good. But if you send out a U of O football schedule magnet that's going to go on my refrigerator in my house, I might start to think about you every single day when I get a glass of milk in the morning, right? It's those little things that people don't understand, that how do you effectively send direct mail that's going to convert? And I know somebody right now that doesn't cold call. This is no joke. No cold calls, 0 cold calls, 0 door knocking, 100% every deal acquisition they do is direct mail. They may get referrals, they may have inbound leads that come in from their website, but every outbound communication that generates a deal has been direct mail. They've closed 30 deals this year from direct mail. They've just done it better than everyone. They've taken the time to strategize what that messaging and that copywriting is specific to that data set, where those people are going to go. It's called I call it the fork in the road end of the conversation of each piece of direct mail, which is like, hey, visit my website / landing page so I can track you or do retargeting to you, or click this link, watch a video about your property, or whatever it is. I don't send out direct mail unless I've physically taken the time to evaluate the property, create a call to action, engage, interrupt, educate, offer something that no one else is offering. And at the end of the day, you'll never see me mail any garbage to a farm looking for a listing as a real estate agent. You're going to have me send something that's of value and is going to effectively get them to call me because they find that I'm an expert or have authority in the market. That's the only way you're going to convert those long-term nurture direct mails. What I want to say is this: if you're chasing notices of the default, there was somebody that was getting, before COVID, there was somebody we knew that was getting foreclosed on. They gave us a call. It was a possible subject to. It didn't go anywhere. The guy had told me that he had received like 15 or 25 phone calls in like 3 to 5 days. And he has got a postcard or some sort of piece of direct mail from Portland like every other day for like 3 weeks straight. You can't compete with those huge ass marketing budgets by just sending the same stuff. You got to be able to come into their mailbox or come into that equation with something that they're like, oh, wow, this person is sending me something. It is legitimately real estate compassionate. It's about helping me. It's about solving my problem. And at the end of the day, doing it in a confidential manner. That's what is going to convert somebody that is on the brink of foreclosure. And so I think a lot of us do rehab properties or flips. I want you guys to know that I was on a conference call a couple of weeks back. Then a private money investor guy that we're friends with, kind of all over the place. Sometimes we see him, sometimes we don't. He had sent me a link and I posted on LinkedIn. And there's like 13 to 21% of all mortgages right now in America are in forbearance or delayed in some aspect. Unless some miraculous change happens to our economy, we lost half as many jobs as we did like 6 months ago. We've lost 20 million jobs. We've gained 10 million back. We're halfway there. It's not anywhere near what it needs to be. We're at the biggest deficit we've ever ran for the last ever. So economically, the middle class is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the wealthy are getting larger and larger and larger. And what that means is that if we effectively move towards some sort of direct mail program that is effective to, it's going to effectively be something that you can really move your business forward with. So I just wanted to kind of share this and bring about any questions that you may have. There's tons to talk about, but I think that's a good start to what direct mail can do. Any questions?
Thank you, Dan. I think this has been super awesome. Talking about direct mail to duplex owners, multiplex owners, and that kind of stuff, about owner carry and that kind of thing. I have a question for Mike, because Mike Grudzian has been in sales his whole life, And I've got a feeling that he's done some direct marketing and direct mailing in his days. No, never.
No,
No.
I've been in B2B sales.
Yeah,
Primarily.
B2B. Okay. Yeah.
And I was old school. I'd knock on doors and I just show up and I always, I have just a great sense of curiosity. I care about people, and I have a very high conversion rate. I don't take no for an answer, and I'm really good at getting past the gatekeeper. And once I got somebody on my radar, out of like all my leads in the CRM, over time, like over a 3 or 4 year period, I have like an 85-90% close rate. You know, once I've made the contact, I own you. I will close you someday.
I moved here in 2000, and your reputation preceded you before I ever met you. I heard about you in the communications sales, that you were amazing. Yeah.
Oh, shucks.
So you don't know that. I've known of you for 20 years.
I still get calls from companies. Would you like to come work here? Come work there? Come do this?
Yeah.
And I got a few sales gigs kind of in my back pocket. I do some stuff on the side.
Okay, so yours has all been person to person, business to business.
But the important, like Dan said, follow up. I mean, if I call somebody, either you know, let's say I'm working the phone, so I call somebody on Monday. If I don't hear back by Wednesday, I do a follow up call, and then I continue a process. Then maybe I'll shoot an email. But I just keep going until somebody says, you know, until they kick me out, you know.
I know you're litigious. I'm sorry to interrupt, Belle. I got a feeling that Roger wanted to say something there. Did he disappear? Travis?
Oh, me?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I would like to say thank you, Dan. One thing I just thought of while I was listening to you, good information, was my realtor 10 years ago. We met. He left a postcard on my door. He lived 2 blocks away. I hired him. I bought 4 places from him, but I've also referred and had him close at least 4 or 5 deals in 10 years. So out of that one postcard, he got at least 8 deals, you know, that he wouldn't have got otherwise. So very effective, and he did it, you know, strategically. He sends me the organ magnets and stuff like that. So it worked very well, and has been a good partnership for 10 years now. So, but
Awesome.
thank you for your time and for the information. I appreciate it.
Who was that? What realtor was that?
A.D. Smith.
Oh yeah,
Great. He's
Out of
been great to work
Keller
with.
Williams. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
good.
Any other questions? I know there's so much to talk about in this specific area, or
Oh,
where
there's a lot.
there's tons, but yeah, it's been happy to answer any questions.
The good thing is I recorded it so you guys can review it, because there's
Nice.
a lot. Yeah.
Well, my question is, when can we have another Dan seminar?
A month from now.
We do these
Okay.
every month. Yep.
Yep, it's a new deal.
Yep. I appreciate Grace for having me, and anybody have any questions, feel free to reach out. The good thing is I don't do work for anybody, so I effectively can tell you, and 99.9% of people, it's all about putting it in action, right? Yeah.
Action is the key, isn't it?
It's the key.
Yeah.
It's consistency makes the deals happen, and I think that's really what, you know, brings a lot of business to us.
My new motto is progress equals happiness.
My newest motto is that I want to free up more and more time of myself. So how do I systematize it? So
Yeah, well, you're great. You're awesome, Dan. Thank you so much.
Hire a copywriter.
Yeah.
What's that?
Hire a copywriter.
Oh, I know. I'm trying to train my wife to do it. So
With the baby. Yeah. Mhm, sure.
with the baby. But yeah, and then last thing I just wanted to say is that don't rely on one peg of your business. Like you need to have like 4 things going on at once. If you want to just consistently flip properties, I would go hunt for those every second, every minute you get. Time block. Just go look for the properties. Go have conversations with people. I don't know how many wholesalers I've met with that are like, oh man, it's been a hard month, or I've only had 1 deal. And I'm like, yeah, because you're just sitting around calling people. Like just calling people is not going to make you 60 deals a year. You're going to have to go out and find these properties and physically look for them, unless you have tons of marketing money and time. So that's what I've seen be the most consistent. But yeah, that's all I got tonight. I think.
Right. Stay tuned for next month when we have another episode of, what's this called? Marketing Mastermind. Woo! Tell your friends. Okay.
Yeah.
Marketing Mastermind.
Thank you, Dan. It was.
You're welcome, Jeanette. Good to see you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Good to see you as well, Travis.
Don't forget to talk to Mark.
I got it right here. I got it right here.
Okay.
Yep.
Follow.
Yep.
Follow up. I'm with Mike. Follow up is my big thing. I keep bugging them until they finally just go, no. Okay, can I call you back in 6 months then? Okay.
Way to do it. Way to do it.
You're helping people when you follow up. You're just helping. Yeah.
You're their Siri reminder.
All right, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Good night. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.